I too have committed an anthology. I was very influenced by many anthologies, and I know people who say they're so wise they never have an anthology in their house or an encyclopedia. I'm not sure about that. I met David when he was quite young. I haven't met really Amy much because we're in the bi-coastal, but I was thinking that my poem is a little sad and has a lot of first names, last names. People put down Frank O'Hara for that. He said, I remember him saying inside a poem, first Bunny died. I thought, who was Bunny? Then John Latouche. It took me years before I knew John Latouche. Then Bunny died. Then Jackson Pollock. Then he makes a great question. But is the earth as full as life was full of them? So even very sad poems can be interesting. In my family, my son taught me a lot. For example, he said once when he was angry with me, "Are you the boss of God?" And I said, "That's very good. Let's write that down." He said, "You are the boss of God?" I said, "Wait. I can memorize that, but let's go upstairs." "Nobody is the boss of God," he said, walking up the stairs. "Nobody is the boss of God, not me, not you." And then I sat him down near the typewriter. There were typewriters in those days. And he said, "Are the angels the boss of God? Are you more famous than angels?" I said, "That's great, just keep going." I am the boss of this poem. I think I was trying to title it. I am the boss of this poem. I wrote it. Then read a very sad poem after that. I had a terrible dream. I used to ask my son whether he had a poem in a dream. He called me Chief Poem in a Dream. He never had these dreams. But one day he said to me, "I did have a poem in my dream." I said, "What happened?" He said, "An angel came to me." I said, "That's great." He said, "Yeah," and he showed me a scroll. And I said, "That's even better. What was there?" He said, "I couldn't read it. I don't read cursive." So now I made up this idea. You know, a Greek poet once said, "Oh, you New York poets, you just laugh." I said, "What do you Greek poets do?" She said, "We weep. We weep." Okay, so this is pretty sad. It's a nightmare. Visit. I was scared of this. I kept it in pencil for years. I thought, well. Okay. So now I'll come to that. David and I had a great teacher named Edward Taylor. And he said, there are two kinds of people in this world, splitters or lumpers, and you know who I am. A visit. It was a small family party. Aunt Olive, who tried to save Dallas, pleased after death to have a park named after her, after death. Terrified, I got up off my usual position and didn't know whether to look or think. Afraid of an encapsulated psychosis, they were quiet. Elaine and Bill de Kooning took a look. And Kenneth, so happy, surprised to have a heaven after all. I decided to accept 10,000 years of imprisonment if that would lighten my father's obvious punishment itself, lightened by his good work for workers. Meyer Shapiro looked on steadily, as if he were watching Kings of the Road in the scene of excretion. Nothing human or divine was strange to him. I've been crying when the 33 recording of my grandfather's voice played El Moli Rachamim, memorial for the dead. And I couldn't translate whom he was calling supplicant. I asked for something faster or fall. Then John Haydick arrived, looking for his wife, son, and daughter, happy as if he were building worlds again. And Fairfield, in painting gear, who had predicted this before, that despite particulars, something was the same. And my Uncle Bill, born with an open heart. The dead were visiting in the corridor. I was like a charlatan on TV, finding a smile long on the door or like the philosopher who will always wake and travel for a table risen. The dead were gathering. I saw them all. My calm father and my mother like two candles, and his father Aaron, atheist, good chess player, who taught me to castle early and lift my violin. My father's mother, whom I hardly met, walked without me with my murdered aunts in a nest of keys and locks. They weren't singing. As others concluded, I let them go, heard and listened to very little. The dead had been buried off the ground. I only saw them smile. The consolation of the need, you'll say. And where was Paganini, practicing so loudly in the orchestra of heaven? Where was my young dead friend Phyllis and her flute? And where I just had to look more before turning away in terror, a family party, amateur chamber music, the delights of the dead.
I'm on page 140. I'm going to read a poem called Stoop. I was telling David earlier that I gave a reading, David Link, years ago in the Midwest someplace, if Oklahoma is the Midwest, and I used the word stoop, not in this poem, but in another context, and nobody in the room knew what a stoop was. They were stupid. Anyhow, this poem, excuse me, seems to be taking place somewhere near where we're standing and sitting at this moment. Terrific, just a little bit. Thanks a lot. That's cool. That's great. While on a stoop and eating boiled beef, and while my hands are dripping with horseradish, and while the crescent moon reflects itself in one of the windows on 6th Avenue near what used to be the Great Balducci's, across from the women's prison and the library, though truth, the sky is blue, so it is probably April, and it's probably 20, 30 years ago, and I was studying women's shoes before the long point killed the two end toes. At the same time, I was killing time before the meeting at the Waverly, inside a window, as I recall, for I had a burden then. And I was given to meetings like that, though even then I knew what it was like to be free of burdens. For I was part mule, wasn't I? Therefore I knew what freedom was, and I am mule to this day and carry a weight, and I will to the grave. You will see me put it into the hole first. It is so cumbersome, with ears the color of the sun, and compromised by wings, which I am too. And there's one mule I knew in the late 30s, whose name was Molly. Alas, not Sal. And she wasn't stupid. And she was hardly stubborn. And she loved apple trees. And she was wise and loving, above rubies.